The law that can't be sold, how common law quietly outranks government control. One. The hidden simplicity of law. Contrary to the myth that law requires years of study and Latin phrases, the real law is simple. It's this: cause no harm, no loss, no injury. Everything else is legislation pretending to be law. So what does that actually mean? It means a person could skip law school and still understand justice by kindergarten. Footnote. This section asserts that true law is rooted in natural principles, not legislative complexity. 2. Natural law versus legal fiction. Law schools teach statutes and case law, but not natural law. Statutes are man-made rules enforced through fear and consent. Natural law is universal. It existed before governments, courts, or gavels. It recognizes every individual as sovereign, a fancy word for self-governing adult. Footnote. This section distinguishes natural law, which derives from inherent human rights, from statutory systems dependent on consent. 3. The hierarchy of law. At the top sits natural law. Beneath it stands sovereign man and woman, those who live by conscience and honor. Below them is the Constitution, then government, and finally its corporate offspring, citizens, residents, taxpayers. The government is not your parent, it's your employee. It works for you, at least it's supposed to. Footnote. This section establishes the lawful hierarchy where power flows downward from natural law, not upward from government. 4. The contract trick. Modern governance runs on invisible contracts. Council taxes, licenses, fines, each assumes consent that most never gave. You're not obliged to pay an invoice you never agreed to. A contract requires 4 things: offer, acceptance, consideration, and intention. If those don't exist, the obligation is fiction. Footnote. This section clarifies that most statutory obligations depend on presumed contractual consent. 5. The myth of authority. Police enforce peace when acting as constables. They enforce profit when acting as officers. The badge doesn't change that reality, only their oath does. So what does that actually mean? It means your consent, not their costume, creates jurisdiction. Footnote. This section distinguishes lawful peacekeeping duties from statutory enforcement roles that depend on consent. 6. Rights you were born with. Inalienable rights aren't government gifts. They are natural conditions: clean air, water, shelter, self-defense, and bodily autonomy. These rights can't be sold, revoked, or suspended, unless one voluntarily trades them for convenience. And that's usually how freedom fades, not by force, but by comfort. Footnote. This section outlines basic natural rights essential to human existence and warns against surrendering them for convenience. 7. The fear factory. Statutes rely on fear, fines, summonses, threats in bold print. Fear works because most people think legal equals lawful. It doesn't. A lawful act harms no one, a legal act may harm everyone if the legislation says so. The difference is subtle but world-changing. Footnote. This section explains how statutory systems manipulate obedience through fear and misdefinition. 8. How to push back. The smallest stand creates the largest ripple. Question every claim politely. Who is making this claim, and where is the evidence? Don't argue, ask. Bureaucracies can memorize templates but not individuality. That's why your handwritten letter confuses them more than a lawyer's brief. Footnote. This section suggests non-aggressive, question-based resistance as an effective method to challenge unlawful demands. 9. The power of no. The most powerful word in law is an objection. It's no. No to unlawful demands, No to assumed contracts, no to forfeiting peace. Every tyrant falls when people rediscover that two-letter word. So what does that actually mean? It means authority collapses the moment obedience ends. Footnote. This section emphasizes refusal as a lawful exercise of sovereignty and the foundation of peaceful resistance. 10. Restoring balance. Nature abhors imbalance. Every wrongful act demands a corrective one. The modern world is chaotic because people stopped correcting wrongs. Taking small lawful actions, challenging unfair rules, questioning authority, restores equilibrium. Justice doesn't come from governments, it comes from individuals brave enough to act honorably. Footnote. This section concludes that lawful balance depends on individual accountability and courage, not institutional reform.